Christmas is probably the biggest festivity in Western society. Billions of humans, and not just Christians, have their own ways of celebrating this day, surrounded by diverse symbols and activities paired with a strong commercial background behind it. And sometimes it's quite easy to get lost when suddenly you see a ton of lit Christmas trees, weird sweaters, socks hanging over fireplaces, overcrowded shopping malls where grown-ups spend hours in line to buy stuff, and children sit with a fat guy and a long beard. There are also massive amounts of candy that spike your blood sugar, people worrying about spending a lot of money on gifts, weird decorations, and family visits. But before you call me a Grinch, trust me, I'm not one of them. Let me explain. It is hard to find the connection between today's morals and ancient ones. I mean, is all the stuff mentioned before really connected to the birth of Jesus? Spoiler alert, not in every case. For that reason, I'm going to explain what the origin of some Christmas elements are all about, as well as some unusual activities practiced around the world. Same as always, please comment after watching the full video, but I must tell you that if you still think that Santa really exists, then this video is not for you. By the way, Santa doesn't exist, at least in the way you know him. It's time to grow up. Come on. Now let's start with the facts. Christmas as we know it is an annual celebration commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ, the central figure of Christianity, a religion that has around 2.4 billion followers around the world. That's more than 30% of the world's population. As with every celebration, Christmas has a date. But why is it December the 25th? When Jesus was born, people didn't use the calendar that we use today, so who decided to place the celebration of his birth on December the 25th? The most accepted theory states that church officials decided this date because it coincides with the Roman pagan festivity of Saturnalia. The Saturnalia is a festival during the winter solstice where people gave gifts to celebrate Saturn, the Roman god of agriculture, and Mithra, the Persian god of light. This way, it became easier to convince the Roman Empire to adopt Christianity as the official religion. However, some Christian denominations celebrate Christmas on January the 7th, as they marked the feast using the old Julian calendar, which is 13 days forward than the Gregorian calendar that we use today. Now, let's talk about one of the most iconic symbols of Christmas, the tree. Long before Christmas, perennial plants had strong meaning during winter, and some tribes use them in houses during the winter solstice as a symbol that the sun and light are about to come back and that farms will be green and fruitful once more. But the Christmas tree lights, as we know them, started when the German Lutherans decorated and lit up their trees with candles. There is a widely known belief that Martin Luther, the famous Protestant reformer, had the idea to light up trees after seeing how the stars were twinkling amidst the evergreens during the winter. For that reason, he replicated the scene in his home by hanging candles in a tree. The Christmas wreath has a similar background as well. But the lit-up Christmas tree became truly famous when Prince Albert of Germany introduced the Christmas tree to his wife, Queen Victoria of England. Next, the Illustrated London News published a sketch of the royal family around the tree, expanding the tradition to the UK and eventually the US, boosting the popularity of the Christmas tree. Every city, shopping mall, and most places of human convenience start their Christmas season installing the tree, making it one of the first and most iconic Christmas symbols. Now, to explain the Christmas gifts, why do we give gifts on this date? Well, this tradition has different origins. The Romans did indeed give gifts during Saturnalia, the same festival that took place when the church decided on the Christmas date. But the most accepted source comes from the biblical story, which talks about the three kings who visited Mary and Joseph after giving birth to Jesus, giving him three different gifts: gold, incense, and myrrh. And Santa? Well, this started when in ancient Greece, there was a bishop who provided for the needy people, children, and the rescued women from servitude. When that bishop died, he was made saint under the name of Saint Nicholas of Myra, who was later reconverted as Santa Claus by the Dutch settlers in the US during the Protestant Reformation, when the stories about Saint Nicholas were censored. This one, the traditional image of Santa, was virtualized by Coca-Cola as a marketing campaign in the 30s, by the same artist who created this character. I'm sure you've seen him before, right? It's the Quaker Oats Man. The inspiration to create that Santa comes at the same time when other illustrations were made by Thomas Nast in the 19th century. Nast's illustrations show a Santa wearing a red suit, a big belt, and several more of the iconic aspects of Santa, like the workshop of toys in the North Pole, the list of those who've been naughty or nice, and so on. This image of Santa changed the perception of Christmas, removing its pagan background, making it a more family-friendly tradition centered around children. By the way, this is the same artist who created the most iconic political illustration in the US and the creator of the elephant and the donkey of the Republican Party and the Democratic Party, respectively. Nash got inspiration for his Santa from a poem that also mentions the reindeers and his sleigh, inspired in the mentioned St. Nicholas and its Dutch version, Sinterklaas, which was at the same time inspired by the Nordic god Odin. As you can see, all of these characters have some aspect in common. Santa's traditions have gone up even further now that Santa has his own zip code in Canada, so children can send him letters there, and the post office usually replies to the letters with a generic answer. The postal code direction is funnily descriptive, to say the least. The Santa phenomenon, along with the Industrial Revolution, the invention of the TV for the US middle class, and the gift-giving traditions related to Christmas, boosted the commercial background of this day, making it one of the most critical days for commerce around the world, playing an essential role in the nation's economies. And what about the songs? Christmas season starts the moment you hear the first carol in the street. So who started all of this? Well, when the Romans adopted Christianity, they had two different kinds of Christmas. One was more solemn, with people praying and singing in Latin in the church, and there was one in the streets where people had parties and big feasts with drinking and singing songs. The local people identified better with the local songs because they're understandable for them. Those songs were the ones that shaped today's modern carols. Jingle Bells, one of the most iconic carols, was performed in space by the crew of the Gemini 6 mission. Elements like the candy canes come from a German tradition to give sugar candy to children as a remedy for the noise they used to make during church time on Christmas Eve. Just like the candy canes, Christmas tinsel also comes from Germany. Poinsettias come from a tale of Mexican folklore, where some pretty leaves of the plant took the shape of a star in a Christmas scene. The star on top of the tree represents the guiding light, followed by the biblical magi to find the place where Jesus was being born. Some peculiar Christmas traditions are held only in some specific countries. In Japan, for instance, KFC chicken during Christmas is very common. You'll always find long lines of people waiting to order a chicken bowl there. The restaurant released a successful campaign in 1974, selling a chicken barrel inspired in the elaborate turkey dinner in the US. In Spain, this figure is part of their Christmas decorations to fertilize the Christmas. And yep, the brown thing is exactly what you're thinking. Some of those sculptures have the face of famous people in the act. Austria has constructed their own version of an evil Santa. In San Jose, Costa Rica, Christmas Day means the starting of a local, weird, and extreme kind of bullfighting that you don't want to be a part of. We can spend hours talking about this, but in the end, we can say that Christmas somehow ends up being relevant for almost everybody around the world. Same as most ancient historical facts, there are different versions of history, and there are people who disagree with the most accepted theory regarding Christmas. Guys, please go to the comment section and leave us a comment about the weirdest Christmas tradition you've ever seen. Then push that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so. That's all for now. Merry Christmas and stay fresh.